So welcome back everyone to the Increment Podcast. Sorry I've been away for a while, just being busy with my personal goals, but today we're joined with a special guest, Charlotte. So if you want to introduce yourself to the listeners at home, who you are and what you tend to do.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me. I'm super excited to come on and chat. But I'm Charlotte. So honestly, life has been chaotic. Like the amount of things I'm trying to juggle and balance right now is a lot. But basically it's currently, what date is it? 19th of October. So in just over a month, I'm actually doing a ski season. But beforehand, like what I've kind of been doing the past year is a bit of coaching here and there with like mindset and nutrition. I'm studying to be a nutritional therapist. So that degree has taken up like a lot of time this year. And then alongside that, I also have my 9 to 5 in journalism. So it's like video editing on a social media team for a company called Reach, which is like, they have so many different branches, but I work for the Nationals, which is, if you've heard of them, like OK Magazine, Daily Express, Mirror, and Star. So yeah, that's like, honestly, I've got a million different things. And then I try and run social media alongside of that. But I just super multi-passionate, love trying to help people, love talking about mindset and well-being and how I've helped myself recover from my journey, and just want to spread the message of helping people to reach freedom, not only like not the literal sense where everyone's kind of like, you hear that cliche of quit your 9 to 5 and start your own business, not that cliche, but like whatever freedom may mean to you, whether it's breaking down limiting beliefs or maybe it is starting your own business. I just want to kind of inspire and help motivate people to find their own freedom and take control of their own life.
So in a nutshell, yeah, I'm sure there's more to it than that, but yeah, I think that's sort of why I wanted to get you on, because I know obviously with the freedom side of things and where you're doing so many different things as well, it's a good sort of mindset as well from me to learn from. But how do you manage to stay productive with that then? So I think a quote I like at the minute is sort of discipline equals freedom. So if you plan your days out for things you know you need to get done, and then you've got the freedom to do whatever you want in the spare time then. But how do you like to stay productive then with juggling so many different things?
Yeah, so productivity, I feel like, is actually a really interesting topic to look at. I think it can be quite a toxic topic that no one, it's very glamorized. And I definitely fell into that trap of like glamorizing the hustle, having my diary. I remember I used to have a diary that was literally like 10-minute slots, and I'd write out every single task, like every 10 minutes of my day. I definitely fell into that trap of just trying to seek validation from being super productive all the time. And I think, sorry, if you're not aligned with your values, that productivity is never, ever going to last. So when we're talking about productivity, I think the key thing is just making sure that whatever you're doing is in alignment with your morals and values. So have you heard the phrase from the viral TikTok that's like, I don't think people are burnt out because they're doing too much. I think they're burnt out because they're not doing enough of what they love.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. Like, if you find what you love and it's in line with your values, you're going to be productive, because if it sets your soul on fire, you're going to want to keep pushing and chasing and going for it. And I know I'm answering this question like a super roundabout way, but I just don't think that productivity is something that should be looked at in terms of like how to stay productive, especially as a woman. Like, we have a monthly cycle, and I think this is so easy for us to forget because we live, I'm not like, this isn't me being like, like feminism, like honestly, all for men are amazing, but we have a monthly cycle and we live in a world that is cultivated around a 24-hour cycle. And yes, men can work like that. Like, men can get up the next day feeling super fresh, ready to conquer their productivity, whatever that may look like. But we have times in our month when we need to sit back, we need to chill a little bit. And it's really important that we use that to our strength and our power, because if you try fight against it, you're going to burn out. And burnout is just a place that is really hard to come back from. So yeah, in terms of productivity, if you're struggling to be productive, I would just take a look at your life. Like, look at your jobs, your hobbies, your friendships. Are they actually in line with your values? And you need to be super, super honest with yourself on this, because you may have friends from high school, primary school that you're keeping in your life purely out of memories, out of the fact that you've known each other for 20 years. When in reality, like, they might not be serving you anymore. They might not be in line with your values anymore. And maybe that's what's draining your productivity. I know for a fact that, for example, I went and stayed with some friends last week, and I came away from that, like, we were talking about like cryptocurrency and business ideas and home renovations. And I came away from that feeling so inspired and lit up and like, okay, let's go. Like, let's investigate more. And then you have friends where you go and it's like bitching and gossiping, and you come away, you're like, oh, I'm just going to like watch telly and eat some chocolate. Like, honestly, every area of your life impacts productivity. It's not just making sure you go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. and smash your tasks out. Like, you need to look at the bigger picture. And when everything in your life is lighting you up and setting your soul on fire, then you're going to be productive, because your work's in line with your values, your friendships are, your hobbies are, your health is. And as soon as everything's in alignment, you'll naturally find productivity and flow.
Yeah, that flow state's quite a big one.
I feel like I literally went on a massive like roundabout way.
No, I think it was good. There was a lot to dissect, and I think one part is obviously me being a man, you being a woman. It as you say, they are completely different roles, and I think the media tries to push now that everyone should be the same, and even for men and some women, men and women in their own rights are different. Everyone's different how they work. Some people are night owls, some people are early, and that's something I struggle with for a long time. I'm always 1 o'clock. I go to bed and try and wake up at 6 just because it's the cool thing to do, and it was never going to happen for me. And you can get lost in that cycle of, oh, I want to get up and be productive, but you know, your body needs its sleep, and it's a big part of your day. So you know, you've just got to understand your life and how you work, what times a day you like get into that flow state, as you say, and then work around that and plan your day out according to how you feel in certain times of the day. So I think, yeah, you've done quite good to answer that in the way you did. It was a lot of information for everyone to sort of take on there, but I think
sometimes we need to like be honest with ourselves about, it's very easy to say that you want something, but do you actually want it, or do you just want to want it? Like, for example, you getting up at 6 a.m. Like, do you actually want to live a life where you're getting up at 6? I know I do. Like, I love mornings. They're my favorite time of day. It's when I feel most calm, relaxed. But for someone like you know, you're just wanting to want that. Not you necessarily, but generalization, you're just wanting to want that because of the external validation of have people perceiving you as the type of person that gets up at 5 a.m, goes on a jog and has the green juice or whatever else, like that stereotype. So be honest with yourself. What do you actually want? What is the type of lifestyle you want? And I can guarantee you it's not watching telly every day or going to the pub. Like, if you super ask yourself deep down what it is you want, I feel like a lot of people could pie that question off and be like, oh, well, if I lived how I wanted, I'd just be sitting on a beach 24/7. I can guarantee you, if you super like delve into your relationship with yourself and get to know yourself, that wouldn't be what you wanted.
Yeah, I think I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting on a beach for the rest of my life. I'd just get bored. I can't sit down and watch telly. It just bores the life out of me. I need to be doing something. But even for me, it's just routine. I think as much as I'd love to get up that early, and I probably would want to do it, it just doesn't fit in with my routine whatsoever. So it's out of the question. I can want it all I want, but if it's not gonna fit into my routine, it's pointless me even thinking about it and stressing over it, because it's not gonna serve me any benefits, and that's where I'm at with it.
That's another thing, isn't it? Like, we have seasons of life, and you have to be honest with kind of what's important for you to prioritize right now. Like, for example, I know I've put on a lot of weight the past few months, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, that doesn't mean I'm a failure. I haven't been able to prioritize movement. Like, I've had to prioritize sitting at my desk, studying, working, doing my ski season paperwork. Like every minute of my day has been taken up by having to be in front of a laptop. And it's like you're allowed to go through seasons of life and prioritize different things. It doesn't mean you're failing or not being productive. Like you're being productive for your goals at that time.
Yeah, I think obviously, as you say, it's prioritizing your workload. And if you do, I usually just pick a list of like 5 things that I want to achieve. I've got my whiteboard there with my goals on, and whatever that is, you break it down into your daily habits, don't you? So if one of your goals isn't to go to the gym, you know, that's fine not to prioritize that every day. Where obviously one of my goals is to be active and train towards a specific goal, so it's going to be a part of my daily routine. And I think what you touched on there as well about the relationship you have with yourself, I feel like you're quite in touch with yourself. And how did you get to that point, and what was the journey like getting there?
Okay, so how far back do you want me to go? Like, are we talking the whole journey or recent?
I've got time, so it's entirely up to you how far you want to go.
Just checking you've got time. So honestly, I can't remember not having issues with myself and my body and my mental health. Like even I remember in primary school, like thinking in the playground, oh my God, you're so much bigger than your friends, and having like these body image issues, even like around boys as well in primary school, which is crazy. And I don't honestly know where it came. I don't know how my young brain linked my body to the need for external validation. I'm not sure. Like we're obviously fed a lot of subconscious messaging through TV and magazines and stuff, but as a child, like I didn't watch telly. I didn't look at like the news or anything. I was outside playing or doing sports, so I'm not sure where those body image issues came from at such a young age, but it was always kind of a running theme of my life. Maybe it was because I literally danced since 3 years old, but yeah, I basically at the age of about 14 developed a really bad eating disorder. So I went through like bulimia, anorexia, binge eating, everything. And I think it stemmed from depression. So just developed these quite bad mental health issues. Yeah, I think it was around like year 9, so 14, 15. And I didn't really know what to do. I'd always been a person who was super bubbly, had loads of friends, like didn't struggle at school. I loved school, good social life, always out on the weekend. And at the time, you don't know what you're going through. And I think especially like our generation, I'm not sure what you think of this, but mental health is like a super big thing now, and everyone kind of knows what it is.
Yeah.
But when I was 14, 15, how old are you?
22.
Yeah, same. So same age as me. Like when you were 14, 15, do you think, I don't remember it being talked about that much.
No, I don't think it was. And I think now it is good that it's on the rise, but I feel like a lot of people misconstrue mental health to mental illness, and they're completely different things. So mental health's just staying on top of it. You know, what coping mechanisms do you put in place, and how do you manage your mental health? But mental illness is a serious matter, and it's something completely different. And I think people get the two mixed up.
Yeah, definitely. So when, I didn't remember it being talked about. And all I remember was this like really like heavy sadness that I just could not shift. I remember it the specific day, and I was never a sad person. Like, and honestly, just like this dark cloud over my head, that's all I remember, was just feeling so sad, not wanting to move, not wanting to eat, not wanting to sit, like I just wanted to sit and be by myself. And I look back, and I've gone through a lot of therapy, and I'm like, okay, it could, you know, depression and mental health illnesses, you could honestly spend forever trying to uncover why you got one. Like maybe it was gut health issues, maybe it was childhood trauma. Like there is so many different reasons why someone can pick up a mental health illness. And it could be an array of reasons that it's kind of like, is it worth diving back into? But anyway, went through this for honestly years and really struggled. It affects everything. Like if anyone's listening who hasn't ever been through a mental health illness, it doesn't just affect like your relationship with yourself. You can't hold relationships with your friends, romantic relationships, your family members, like you completely isolate yourself. So I went from being like this super bubbly, loving girl who loved everyone, like had so many friends, hobbies, and to being this girl who I lived for my eating disorder. Like that's how I describe it to people. It's kind of like, this is a really weird analogy, but it's like, it's possessed you, like you live to like serve that disorder. And like
was it Matthew McConaughey that says, or who was it, about depression, about, or Jim Carrey it might have been, about it's you being depressed about you not wanting to be the person you are anymore, you want to be something else. It's not that you don't want to live it. I can't think of the quote, I'm sure it was Jim Carrey.
I've heard a Jim Carrey one before about depression. I think I know the one you mean, but I'm so bad at remembering stuff like that. Like I can't reel off, but I think I know which one you mean. Yeah, it's a really good one. But yeah, like I didn't know what it was and no one helped me. I remember like school teachers picking up how much weight I'd lost, but it was really easy for me to like kind of brush it off because everyone knew I was a professional dancer. So it was like, yeah, I'm at dancing like 6 hours after school, like it that's why. And it was so easy to brush it off, which I think is something that really needs to get picked up on in schools, because honestly it robbed me of like 5 years of my childhood. Like it did. And that's no one's fault. It's not my parents' fault. It's not my fault. It's no one's fault that it's still sad. And I don't you can't say regret, but like I'm pleased that I got one. It made me a nicer person. It made me a lot more humble and accepting of others. I think like everything we go through is a lesson. Yeah. And I take the lessons from it. But I feel like I'm babbling now. So I got to dance college at the age of 16, was still really struggling with these disorders. But that's kind of when it got worse, was because I wasn't super skinny then. Like I was, if anything, like the biggest I'd probably been, which again, we have this stigma of eating disorders that, you know, it's only people, typically girls as well. Like I think a lot of men get overlooked for struggling with food. The stereotype of an eating disorder, right, is like a skinny girl. That's the only person that can have it, in quotation marks. And I got overlooked because I was at dance college. You're meant to be like stick thin. And I remember like literally starving myself and then going home and binging. And it was tough. Like I'd moved 4 hours away from home by myself. I was doing like 8 till 8 days at college, trying to make new friendships. I had a boyfriend at the time as well, who I was like trying to hide stuff from, like my bulimia and things. And I just felt so alone. Like nobody knew what was happening because all they saw was this external version of me that was successful because she'd got to a really good dance standard. She'd moved to London. Like she had a boyfriend, she had friends, but they weren't friends. It wasn't my boyfriend because no one actually knew what was going on in my life except me. And it was this constant battle. And as well, like if any dancers are listening, something I really want to do is get into that industry and help correct it, because teachers were looking at me and like telling me I needed to lose weight to make it in the industry, not knowing that I literally hadn't eaten that whole day. But do you know what I mean? Like they didn't accept I had issues because I was bigger than they wanted me to be.
It wasn't like a place of, oh, is everything okay? It was more an authority standpoint, like this is what you need to do, rather than trying to understand like what you was going through, or even just asking about because sometimes just the smaller things can, you know, massively change your day. Just asking if they asked how you are and how are you getting on with this, do you need any help, and that can make someone's day, but people don't understand that.
Yeah, especially when you're bigger, I think it's a lot easier for people to be like, oh, well, you just need to go on a diet. And it's like, you don't quite understand.
What I've learned, there's probably a lot of reasons behind that. It's mainly food's just a coping mechanism for a lot of people. So it's more understanding what they're going through. And the way I've went around it now is just loading up on psychology and learning a lot about psychology to understand why people do certain things. And it helps me to understand like clients down through the fitness side of things there.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's never about the food, it's never about your body at all. Like it's always about the emotions, or sometimes, sometimes it is down to like gut health and the fact that we need to be making healthier choices so we can get rid of the depression, but a lot of the time it is down to emotional trauma. And yeah, the dance industry was just super difficult to go through with this illness, because I remember I got to breaking point, and this is the one thing I feel so lucky about, is I truly do not know how I would have got through this depression and eating disorder if I didn't have dancing, because from a kid, all I wanted was to be a successful dancer. And that kept me going, because when I was depressed, the only time I left my room other than to go to school was to go to dance class. And when I had my eating disorder, the only thing that kept me eating like just enough to keep me going was the fact I had to go to dance class. Like, if I feel for people that don't have something, because that genuinely, I don't know how I would have kept going if I didn't have that as a driving factor. And it got to the point where that was such a driving factor that I was like, I am not going to make it in this industry if I have this debilitating relationship with my body. Like, I cannot walk into auditions and be confident to like wear what they want me to wear, or, I can't continue in this industry unless I fix this issue, because at that point I still hadn't labeled it. Like, I didn't know what I had. I just knew something was wrong. So I remember going to my ballet teacher and being like, I really need to chat. And this is where it got even worse, was she was like, oh, maybe you should eat like half a banana instead of a full banana for lunch. Like, that might help you. And I was like, I've come to you for help about what's going on in my head, and you're just telling me to eat less. So we then went through the whole cycle again, where in second year of college, I lost a ton of weight, and it was like, it dropped off me, and that fueled my disorder as well, because it got a lot of external validation. And I think this is the thing, is that people like, if you think about it like this, between mindset and your relationship with food, people don't want to work on their mindset and they easily brush it off because they don't have time or whatever else. But with food and exercise, people are happy to invest in a PT or invest in a gym, because that weight loss is going to result in external validation. And that's where the difference lies between mindset work and aesthetics. I
think that's why I got into the space as well. I don't want to do in-person PTs. I only think PTs are for people who are either beginners who struggle with lifting weights, which is fine, or for people that want to lift with, like Olympic lifters and stuff like that, where a coach is someone that helps you, as you say, with your mindset towards food, your lifestyle factors, your routine. Do you always go to Greggs? Well, what's the best option that you can get in Greggs for your food and that's going to benefit you? Or it's just assessing your life as a whole, really, and understanding how we can manipulate that to work towards your goals. And I feel like that's why you're so passionate about like the nutritional sides, because you've went through what you've went through as well, isn't it? But you want to help other people that have gone through that. And I was the same. I put a lot of weight on in lockdown. So for me, I want to help people avoid that and, just become the best version of themselves, really.
Yeah. This is the thing. So fast forward the journey. What ended up helping me was that going through a lot of therapy, and it started with talk therapy and then went on to like different forms of therapy. It got to a place where therapy was no longer working, because I was done like offloading and projecting my issues. It was just kind of a vicious cycle that I then went into coaching. So at the start of this year, I invested in a coach. And that was really difficult, because going back to what I was just saying, like that was I think it was $6,000, it might have been 6 or 7 grand for this coach, and no one's seeing those benefits except me. And it's so easy to prioritize our spending on designer bags, clothes, like things that people are going to look at you and be like, oh wow, like I love that, like get you all this external validation. And that is my biggest tip to anyone listening on this journey of like connecting with yourself, is that align your spending. Like when you spend money, is it aligning with your core values and what you believe in? Because it's fine to love designer bags. Like I love designer bags, but like
everything has got to come first.
Yeah. Are you buying that for yourself, or are you buying it so that someone looks at you and is like, oh, I love that bag?
Yeah.
Like with a coat. Go on.
As I say, I think the best like compliment you can get is about yourself as well, isn't it? And I think a lot of conversations around like bags or for lads, you know, football, and I get bored of like that small talk and that conversation. I just feel like it's pointless conversation. Or anyone can have that bag if they've got the money. It doesn't matter. But the work you've put in with a coach, no one's gonna get that benefit apart from you. And when people do start to pick up on it, I feel like that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Like people, I read a quote the other day. I think it was like optimism and happiness, maybe something like that. Optimism and something is it was a different word, but the result of spiritual work. And whether you want to call it like spiritual work, mindset work, personal development, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And I think that is key if you're going through a journey and struggling like with your body image and food. It's never about your body and it's never about food. And that is the one take home from me, like babbling about my journey for the past 10 minutes, is it's never ever about your body. It's never ever about food. You know, for me, it was a lot of childhood trauma of like seeking. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel loved. And I was seeking that safety and that validation and that love from changing my body, from changing how I ate. And it's like, you do need to prioritize your healing. If you don't have the money to invest in a coach, start reading personal development books, listen to podcasts. Like I guarantee, I mean, you're listening to this, so you clearly have access to a podcast. Like there is a ton of podcasts out there with incredible speakers that you can go listen to for free. And if you're on your morning walk listening to music, why don't you just change that around for like a week and listen to a podcast? Or whilst you're driving to work, like no one listening to this can turn around and say, I don't have time to listen to a podcast. Yeah, you do. Like your morning commute, whilst you're making dinner, it's so easy to incorporate this self-development work into our day. And I just think that it's all about being honest with yourself. Like taken on this journey of a coach, like it really started with books and podcasts and mindset habits and all of that, and then led eventually to me investing in a coach. And what then happened was the main overriding message was, it's not about becoming, it's about unbecoming. And when you get back to that super authentic childlike version of yourself, that's when the problems seem to dissipate. And I'm not sat here saying like they're going to be completely gone. They're definitely not. I'll hold my hands up. Like I've really, really struggled with my relationship with food recently again, but something that I really learned from the container I was in was like new level, new devil. Like you don't check the level and like,
that's it. It's always something new to chase, and that's fine to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, like you go deeper. But it's just, if you commit to yourself and as well be selfish. I want to change this perception of like being selfish. Selfish isn't a bad thing. As long as you're not harming anyone or hurting anyone, you need to be selfish so that you can then serve others. And putting yourself first is literally what life should be about in the right ways. But invest your money selfishly and in line with your values, and you'll see that change. And honestly, there's no better journey than like getting to know your triggers, getting to know what has led you down the road of the issues that you've faced.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think you answered that question in for it there, and I'm happy that you're in a better place now as well. So, and you're obviously using that to help other people similar to myself. So obviously I'll drop Charlotte's links below for anyone that does want to follow her content and her journey anyway as well. But yeah, it was really good to delve into what your relationship with food and how you overcome it. And I think you touched upon it really well about being selfish. I'm always saying it, like, don't be scared to say no to people. Like, you don't have to go out every weekend if you want to do something for yourself. And even with your money, when you get paid, pay yourself first. And that doesn't just mean saving. That means, buy things that you actually want to buy and do things you want to do. Do you want to go on a hike and, spend that time wisely? You're limited to what you've got. And I think as well, where you're saying it unlocks new devils, I think people think self-improvement's just one thing and it's going to finish. It's a continuous thing every day. There's always something to improve on. There's always the next thing that you're going to chase. And that's the beauty of life, I think. Like, imagine there wasn't that thing. And
we'd be so bored.
Yeah.
It's like with your health, like literally just think about it like that. It's so simple. It's like, if you lose loads of weight, you can't then wait, do you want to restart the meeting?
Yeah, I was going to say
I don't want to go on a tangent. Do I need to leave it?
You might have to. I'll invite you back. So we had to get off and back on because Zoom only gives you half an hour. So we was up to sort of the self-improvement side of things.
I was just going to say it's so simple. And sometimes I feel like I don't want to say things because people are going to be like, yeah, I heard that before. But something that helps me with mindset work is if you are going through or have been through depression or some other sort of mental illness and you develop these habits, like for me, getting out of depression, I read The Miracle Morning as a book. So like go read that if you're in a bad place. It really helped me. And I implemented all of those things. So for people listening that want like actionable steps, I every single morning would get up, do my gratitudes, read a personal development, obviously not a whole book, but like read some pages of a personal development book, listen to a bit of a podcast, write down 10 affirmations and move my body every single morning without fail. And it literally, read the book, like it transformed my life. It pulled me out of depression and I stopped the habits and then started feeling sad again. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I thought I'd done this work. Like, why do I feel like this again? And it's like so dumb because it's like, if you lose weight and then stop working out, go back to all of your old eating habits, you're going to put the weight back on. It's the same with mental health. Like, it's literally your habits. Like, you need to keep your mental health habits. And it's like what Stephen was saying about like mental health, mental illnesses, different things, but everyone has mental health and you need to keep it in good conditions. So it's like you have these habits for your physical health, eating fruit and veg, moving your body, whatever else. So have habits for your mental health too. And yeah, that really, really helped me. So I would suggest that people go read that book and put in those actionable steps because it's so easy. I think the book promotes you literally doing it in like.
What did you say it was? The Miracle Morning?
Yeah, The Miracle Morning. It's really, really good. But like I used to do it before dance college. So I would get up at like 6:30, I think, and do it super quick. Like I'd do it in 20 minutes. But because I had to be so strict, so like I'd literally like read one page, write 10 affirmations. But these days, like when I have a more flowy morning, so, oh my gosh, sometimes I spend like 2 hours in the morning, literally just carve it out for me. Like this week I was so disconnected from myself and I felt really low. Like, to be super open and transparent, I've not been feeling that great mentally recently. And if I take a look at it, like I haven't been doing my mental health habits. I haven't been connecting with myself. So the other morning I literally took 7 hours for me. Like I put my phone in airplane mode. I was like, I'm out of contact, like this is me. And I think that's something that's really important to do as well, is like take 10, even if it's 10 minutes, like turn your phone off, we don't need to be able to be in contact with people all the time. You're allowed to literally isolate yourself and be selfish, like we were saying. And I just took the 7 hours of like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go on a hours long walk by myself with no headphones in. I'm gonna go to the gym with no headphones in. Like, I'm gonna read my book for an hour, and it really helped. So it's like, you need to find the habits that work for your mental health, and then keep doing them as well. And it is hard to stick to them. Like, I know, for example, when I go on my ski season, I'm going to have to really be strict with like, okay, to enjoy yourself and have this much going out and drinking and time with friends, you're only going to enjoy that if you keep up with these habits. So I think it's just really important to prioritize them.
I think the book for me, that changed it. And obviously that's resonated quite well with you when you was reading it, was Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read
I read Habits. That one.
As soon as I read that, it just opened my eye up to everything, and I was the same. Just went through my routine and how to form good habits and habit stack and avoid bad habits. And it sort of led me to like a life audit then, to assess everything I was doing daily and think, does that actually benefit me? And I was that person that someone had Snapchat me and I'd instantly open the message and I'd type, and you can get caught up in messages instead of just picking up the phone and ringing someone when you want to speak to them. And then I like just have time where you go through your messages like you would with your emails and work. You give yourself time to go through emails. You don't want to be answering emails back and forth all day, getting in your state of flow where you want to be working. So I think that was a good point.
One of the best habits that I need to implement again, like I've not been doing it, but one of the best habits, like the best things I ever did, was put my phone on flight mode every single night. And because I need it in my room because I use it as my alarm, but put it on flight mode, because if you have your alarm on your phone, think about it like this, like the first thing you see when you're not even fully awake yet is all these notifications. And it could be like a banking app notification, a work email, a message off your boyfriend like having a go at you for something. Like, it could be all of these notifications that instantly your body is like going into fight or flight mode. So, and your cortisol is going through your body. Like, this is before you've even had a chance to win the day. You're putting your body into this fight or flight mode. So for me, it really helped give this sense of like calm and peace, was just keeping my phone on flight mode for like the first hour of my day. And it's actually really addictive. Like, you have it on for like the first hour and then you're like, actually I don't want to turn it off flight mode. I want to keep it on.
I think that's good as well, because your cortisol levels naturally spike in the morning anyway to wake you up. So for that amount of stuff to go through your body, it just can't comprehend what's going on. If anyone is looking for an alarm, I've got this. Is it the Lumi? It's like, I don't know if you can see it.
You're telling me about this. I really want to look into these, like the sunlight ones.
Yeah, the sunlight one. So you can set it at night as well to get like the rain, if you're someone that like listens to rain and it goes like blue and stuff. So they are good, and I've definitely felt
I love that.
It gradually like gets lighter. So in the winter months where there's no sun available, obviously it's acting as like that artificial sun, which is quite good. So I'd advise people to get that if they are struggling in winter to get up in the morning, and just a good way to start your day off, right? I think. But
I'd love to try one of those. How have you found it? Do you like it?
Yeah. It took me a bit of getting used to like the buttons, but once it was up and running, because it's got 2 alarms, one for the weekend, one for the weekdays. But I try and keep my weekends and weekdays the same, like the routine. I don't want to deviate too much. I'm not sure if you're the same.
Yeah, I definitely some weekends I'm like, okay, you need to sleep in, but my sleep in isn't like, I ain't lay in bed till like 11. Like my sleep in's like half
hour.
Yeah. So I definitely still try and keep some sort of routine on a weekend. Give me a second. Can you still see me?
Yeah, it is a bit laggy, but you're still there.
Okay, it's come back. Yeah, I think, sorry, the screen just went off and it's like throwing my conversation. I think another thing, like this is a bit off topic, but it just popped into my head when we were speaking then, is pay attention to your, in quotation marks, symptoms. I think it's so easy for us to brush off and not be in tune with our bodies. Like, from a kid, we're taught to disconnect from our body. Like, you have to ask to go to the toilet at school. You have to, like, a lot of people's parents are like, you're not hungry, you don't need that, or like finish your plate. And it's like, we're taught to disconnect from our body. Like, I know as a kid, I always had to finish my plate. Like, already that's setting me up for failure because I don't know how to listen to my fullness cues. I don't know how to listen to my hunger cues because I've been told that I don't need that, whatever I was craving. And it causes so much disconnect from our body that it's really important to find that connection again. And for me, recently, like going through this rough patch with my mental health again, I've been like, oh, you're just tired because like you just don't want to get out of bed because you don't like your job, or you just don't want to work out because you're tired from your job. Like, I've literally been blaming everything on like the fact that I'm not where I want to be. And I had to sit down with myself today. I was like, you are struggling because you haven't been eating properly. So like your nutrients are depleted, your adrenals are shot. Like, this is why you can't sleep. Like, I've been getting like insomnia. I've not been able to get out of bed on a morning, and I've got a cold sore. Like, it's like I have ignored all these symptoms, when in reality, when I sit down, I'm like, okay, something's going wrong here. Like, I need to journal. I need to, whatever your coping mechanism is of reconnecting with yourself, and admit to yourself, it's not just because I'm tired. It's not just because I'm burnt out. It's because, you know,
there's an underlying factor.
Yeah. For me, it's because I'm not eating enough nutrients at the moment. So it's like, you need to not bypass your symptoms. It's so easy to do that in this like Western fast-paced world where we prioritize everything other than our health. Don't bypass symptoms.
I think it's mad the way health's just pushed to the back, and I think it is on the rise, and I think it will be massive in the next 5 or 10 years, health and wellness. But I'm the same as you. I love to journal. I love to write things down, and I think it takes the emotions away from it. Once you've wrote it down, you sort of got it out, you can look at it logically and think, okay, so what's going on really here, and think about it. And
I'd love to know that from a male's perspective. Like, journaling, like, how does that sit for you? When someone first told you to do it, were you like, what? Like, I don't want to do that?
Yeah, I don't know where it was where I first picked it up, to be fair. Initially, it was just, I seen this, I think, obviously just looking at people on social media. So in the bodybuilder, like, that's where I was initially, but now more like athletic sort of style of training. I think someone promoted, was it the Man Journal? I'm not sure if you've seen it.
No,
I think it literally has loads of tick boxes where it's foolproof, where if you just got a journal to write out yourself, it's pretty hard to start, isn't it? Where if something's got what you need to do, your affirmations, your gratitude journal, and it's all laid out for you. It's pretty straightforward. But that's how I got into it. And I think that's what's good about like myself and you having conversations, where if it's people around you and people you know, and people that can get inspired from like what you've been through, what I've been through, etc., and what we're continuing to do, it's easier for them to understand it. Where if they're looking at, you know, Hollywood, whoever it is, and they're doing this, they probably think, oh, well, who's he? I don't have any personal connection to him, so I'm not going to listen to him. And I feel like that's why people need to share more about their journey and their stories as well, to help others. And if something's worked well for you, you know, promote it, because it might work well for someone else as well.
100%. Like, honestly, I think the best thing to do is find yourself cringy, like in like a weird roundabout way. Oh my goodness, the amount of times I have cringed at, like, even now, if I watch my old Instagram reels, I'm like, oh, like they need to be deleted. But it's like, you need to put yourself out there, because why do you not want to live your full potential? Like, imagine getting to 70 years old and being sat there. My friend put this in a really good way once to me. He was like, yeah, Charlotte, like, you're only 22, but the second half of your life isn't going to be the same as the first, because physically you can't do the same things. And it's like, I don't want to be sat there at 70 thinking, oh my God, I didn't live my full potential. And it's like, the best thing you can do is find yourself cringy, because, oh my goodness, when I launched a podcast, when I started my YouTube channel, when I started posting stuff on Instagram, I was so scared. Like, I was like, people are going to be talking behind my back, and they did. Of course they did. Like, people don't like it when you do things different. But at the end of the day, do you want those people in your life anyway? Like, exactly. And I think it is a hard journey. Like, when you start putting yourself out there and going for your dreams and living your full potential, there is a period of isolation. I definitely found that. And I think a lot of like entrepreneurial people I've spoken to have agreed with me. And there was a period where I literally lost like all of my friends, and I was like, okay, so now I literally have my boyfriend, like that's fun. But eventually you get like people in your life that you start to attract more like-minded people that just lift you up and set your soul on fire. And honestly, I used to have so many friends, and now I have like, I'm not sure, I could probably count them on two hands if not one. But like that's a really good thing, is like you need to be, and I think this was definitely the first step to my healing journey, was, if you scroll back down through my podcast, like please don't listen to it because it's probably cringy as hell, but I think the first episode I did was like something about clearing out people, like getting rid of people who aren't on the same level. And I think it truly is the first step to like fulfilling your potential, healing, bettering your mindset, is deciding who you're around. Tony Robbins says you're the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's so true. Like, it's literally so true. You are so subconsciously influenced by who you spend your time with. And I think it's so important to pick those people wisely. And you're not, if you are going through a period of loneliness, something that really helps me is like, you're not by yourself, you're with yourself. And I would rather be with myself than with people who aren't supporting my ambition and helping me be the best version of me.
I think that's it. A friend's someone that you can exchange values mutually, and people don't understand that. Just because you've been to school with someone doesn't mean, you don't have to be horrible. You can still be being nice to each other when you meet each other, but doesn't mean you have to be lifelong friends. Like, people gravitate towards different things, and you obviously want people situated in them same things to help you grow and become better. And as you say, the sum of the 5 people, and you have got to be wise about it, but also you've got to look at what you're digesting through. Now, are you someone that watches the news? You're going to be, quite negative. If you are, is your TikTok full of just, stupid stuff that just doesn't benefit you? Try and follow people like mindset coaches, where you can look on it, and that's sort of in itself like an affirmation. You'll see it there and you think, wow, that's changed my outlook on what today could have been. I woke up and I weren't feeling the best, and I've looked at Instagram and there's a good quote from a mindset coach, and it's changed your whole days, the way it was going to go. So I think your environment's just a massive part of. Yeah,
it's like your boundaries, your environment, and your diet. Like, literally sort those out. Boundaries are so important. Like, boundaries are literally the pinnacle of self-love. People sit there and it's like the cliche, like, oh, I need a self-love day. Like, yeah, sometimes you do need to eat the chocolate and have the bath or whatever else, like go get a massage, but that's not self-love. Like, self-love is strong boundaries and saying no to the right things.
It's sort of knowing your value, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's just sort of knowing your value and what you want for your life.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. But just to backtrack a bit before like getting onto that, is I was chatting to my friend last week, and she we were both saying, like, it's funny because every single friend I have now isn't circumstantial. A lot of people have circumstantial friends. Like, every friend I have in my life, I wouldn't see them if I didn't make plans to see them. Like, it's not like we work together or, we go to gym together or whatever. I have to make effort to see them. To be honest, they all live about 3 hours away, which is a pain, but it's like you are allowed to be that selective of who you spend your energy on. I think your energy is truly the most important like asset that you have, and you need to be really, really selective with who you're spending it on. Like, people,
definitely. I'm the same. So my coach has sort of become my best friend, and he's quite far, but obviously when we still make the time to see each other, or we can obviously, the power of social media, you can connect over like Zoom, so obviously that helps. But yeah, I think again it's about just looking at yourself and thinking where you can just keep improving. Like, it's just a continuous cycle, and people don't understand.
I'm glad we've got onto the topic of like friendships and community, because I think especially for women, like, community is a massive thing for us, and we want to fit in, and like men do as well, for sure. But I think men as a massive generalization, find it a lot easier to keep focused on their goals if they've got no one coming along for the ride with them. And it's like, just know that the right people will come, and put yourself out there in terms of like, don't be afraid. Like you were just saying, this is what made me think of it. We're in the age of the internet and social media. Like, don't be afraid to message someone. Three of my best friends I met through Instagram. Like, it was either me or them saying, do you want to meet up? Like, I think my best friend, she came on my podcast, and then we were like, yeah, let's go like book a trip. Like, let's do a trip. Like, put yourself out there. It's not weird. And you know what? If they say no, like, you'll probably cringe for a couple of days and then get over it. Like, just put yourself out there. If you think you're going to click with someone, message them, go for a coffee. But it's really important to have the right people in your life, for sure.
Definitely. And because you said the word cringe again, it got me thinking to a point I was going to bring up, is the fact that you were saying when you look back at like your old Instagram reels now, you sort of cringe at them. But isn't that just a testament to how far you've come now? And just shows like how much you've improved. And I am the exact same. I look back and think, what was I doing? But then it's sort of just like, well, isn't that you learn from them things? And that's why I'm better today, because it might not have been great at the start, but when is it ever great at the start?
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, what I think you'll never stop cringing at your stuff, because like what we're putting out now, like I guarantee if we both listen back to this podcast in a couple of years time, we'd be like, oh my goodness. But it's like I'm single, so for example, I've come off dating apps now, but people would ask me for my Instagram when I was on dating apps, and I would be like, I'd be thinking, how far are they going to scroll back through these reels? But then something that clicked in my head, and this is what you can do when, you know, if someone's listening that wants to put themselves out there, is like, if people are going to find you too much or cringy or whatever, like they're just not the right ones for you. I think I'm trying to remember the quote off the top of my head. I put a reel on about it. It was like, you're only too much for the wrong people, so just keep being you. Because honestly, if it's the right person, like whether it be a friend or a romantic partner, if it's the right person, they're not going to find you too much or too cringy or whatever. So just keep doing you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we ended up on the Manchester one. How did you find it? It was something we both done. Good day, I think.
Like, your time, by the way, oh my goodness. I was like, I don't want to tell you my time anymore. But
our comparisons to FIFA Joy, innit? Like, obviously, I've been doing it for a while, so
yeah, no. So
it was a good day to start with. I thought it was really well organised as well.
Yeah, it was. And I find it really hard to sum up, because I'm like, it was tough, but then I look back, I'm like,
it doesn't feel like I've done it.
It went so fast. Like, the human body as well forgets pain really easily, doesn't it? So it's like, is it even that tough? I was like we can always push ourselves. This is what I was saying to my sister. So like, I didn't stop the whole way around. That was my goal. I was like, I didn't care what time I get. My first half marathon, I just want to finish it, and I don't want to stop. That was my goal.
Yeah.
And like, I think I started to struggle. Like, after halfway, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I was still enjoying it because of like the atmosphere, the achievement, but my body was hurting. And my sister kept me going because she's like an incredible runner. And then at the end, we sprinted like really fast, like the whole way down. And
where the runner sprint is, where it says runner straight, I done that.
Yeah. And I was like, I've been moaning in my head for the past hour that I don't want to run anymore, and then I've just sprinted. Like, it just goes to show you that your body always has so much more to give than you think it does. But no, I think it was a really good day. I felt so amazing that I did it, but it's literally like you said, like, you feel like you've not done it.
It was just I feel like just the training itself is hard enough, and the day is just a celebration of the training you've put in. I feel like, anyway.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, I wanted to do it just to prove to myself that, just to literally tell myself I could do it. And I think that's like the thing with your relationship with food and your body and X, Y, and Z, is like, if you're in the midst of an eating disorder, don't commit to a half marathon. Like, that's not what you need to prioritize. But for me, at the time, like I was in such a good place with my nutrition and my body image. I was like, actually, I want to get back to my old self who was like super sporty, super goal driven. And I think as well, something that I really wanted to do was set a performance-based goal and not a aesthetic goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I looked into a half marathon, and honestly, anyone listening, this time last year, I would have laughed in your face if you told me I'd done one. Like, I wouldn't believe you. I remember 2 of my friends last year entered one, and I was like, like, I will never be doing that. And I've done it. And it's like, you need to stop listening to your own bullshit. Like, you can do it, especially a half marathon, such a good goal. Like, it's so achievable. It really is so achievable for anyone. And it doesn't matter whether you do it in like 1.5 hours or 4.5 hours. Like, it really doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, it's just having that sense of accomplishment. I think it's really important to show ourselves that we can commit, we can be consistent, and we can destroy our limiting beliefs. Like, that's a really, really big thing for me, is like every limiting belief I have in my head, I want to keep working through them and proving myself wrong. A limiting belief I had was that I'm not a runner. Well, I just did a half marathon, so that's wrong, isn't it? Like, I can't run.
I think that's something I always felt like as well. So I was quite shy growing up, but people used to label me as shy. Oh, you're shy when you meet them. And I'm like, oh, I must be shy then. And you just accept that. But, you know, growing up, I was just like, why would I accept what other people label me as? Like, I can be confident if I want and I worked on it, and now I am. So don't ever let what people's perspective of you determine what you are. Don't let them put you in a certain box. If you want to be something else, you know, you can be it. Just, you've got to understand there's a work that goes into it. And like you said, if people say, oh, or even just yourself, I'm not a runner, you can be. You've just got to, what the runners do, they get out and run, they do this, they do that. Okay, so if you want to be someone, you've got to understand what are they doing to get there, and you've got to just go out and do it. It is literally that simple, but I think we just put a lot of stigma around it, and I can never do that, or I can never be this without that, and I haven't got the right genetics. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like, stop listening to your own lies, because you can do whatever you want to do, and you don't have to run. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I probably won't run that much now. It's not like I didn't love it, I'm not passionate about it. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And one day I would love to do a marathon and prove to myself that I can do that as well. But it's just about proving to yourself that you can stick to something, and it builds you as a person in so many other ways. Like, it's going to make you a better partner, a better friend, a better daughter. Like, it's weird how commitment and consistency in something as small as a half marathon can improve your sense of self in all aspects of your life.
Yeah, I think the best way to get to know yourself and understand yourself is by experiencing different things, but you've got to openly go out there and seek them. And obviously, as you said, you've never really done that much running. You probably won't do it much after the half marathon, but you've done that. You've got through it. You've built that confidence in saying, you know what, if I set myself a goal and stick to it, I can achieve it. And that in itself gives you a massive confidence boost, regardless of what it is. You know you can achieve goals. And I feel like on the journey there as well, it's a very mental sport, running. So you bring up a lot of thoughts whilst you're running, and you know you can definitely nip them in the bud when you're doing so.
Yeah, I think a really big thing is to stop putting ourselves in these boxes. Like, I tied my whole identity to, like, I'm a dancer. That was me. And then when I stopped, I was like, I actually know, like, who I am. And it's like, we need to stop putting ourselves in these boxes of like, I'm a runner, I'm a dancer, I'm a footballer, I'm whatever, a writer. Because that is literally the ego, again, seeking external validation and like wanting to belong. Like, it's literally our caveman brain wanting to fit in so that we can survive. And it's like, actually, you can be everything. Like, just how amazing would your life be if you were like, I'm just going to experience everything. Like, I'm going to have all these different chapters and stages of my life where I live these different identities and stories and literally experience everything, because you can do everything.
Definitely. I think the power of choice is great. We get to wake up every day and choose what we want to do. Obviously, I understand people have commitments to certain things and can't just boycott whatever they've got going on, but you get to choose where you spend your time. And we need to start seeing time as a currency, I think, because it's so precious. Like, it's not infinite and we only get so much of it in a day to use. So it's definitely something that people need to understand. Like, don't just sit down. I used to be the same. I'd stop work and I'd go and sit on like the PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, and my whole day was gone. Where now I'm like, I don't understand how I can get so much done in a day just by not doing them things and just a bit of plan and preparation. I'm not the most productive person. I'm not the most like OCD person about my time, but just by me actually going, sitting down and seeking different things, putting goals in place and understanding whatever needs doing today to get there as my habits, you'd be surprised how much you can actually achieve in a small like space of time.
Yeah, just like starting to explore is such an important thing, and like putting your toe in different water and seeing what you enjoy. Like, you don't have to commit to something. I always say this to people. It's like we get freaked out about trying new things because it's like, what if I don't like it? And it's like, well, if you don't like it, you just stop. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, and again, that comes back from a place of ego and external validation, because people are scared that if they start something and then stop, everyone else is going to be like, oh, they're a quitter, they're a whatever this, whatever that. And it's like, well, if you just care about you and like your opinion, you're going to start trying loads of different things, because you're not going to be that bothered about whether you quit, whether you enjoy it, how well you do. And that is like my core message that I want to get across to people is, please just live your life however that may be, because so many of us are just surviving and not living, and the world is cultivated so that we do just survive, and it needs to be your conscious choice to allow yourself to properly live. And if you're struggling on like what your purpose is or what you want to do, a really good exercise I found was think back to the last time you felt completely present in the moment, not thinking about the past or the future. You're just so absorbed in that moment. And what did that look like? And then kind of go from there and like base your, from there you can figure out like, what do I enjoy? What values do I have? How do I want to live my life? For me, when I was going through a real bad period of anxiety, the last time I felt like super happy and present in the moment was at a music festival. So I was like, okay, that means that I love like dancing, being with others, not being on my phone because there was no signal there. So it's like, how can you cultivate a life that allows you to, obviously I'm not going to live every day at a music festival, but how can you cultivate a life that allows you to gain all of those emotions and all those feelings in your everyday? And that was a really good exercise that helped me realize what I wanted from life and how I wanted my normal days to look, because it's so, like we're saying, like in this day and age, we have so many choices, so many options, and you can literally change your life in one day. Like, we can make a decision to change our life right now. So stop letting fear hold you back. Like, a massive thing that I've been doing this year is constantly step into fear, like all the time, because that is what's going to allow you to expand and grow and become the better version of yourself. Like, you need to just step into the fear-based, that's the wrong way of phrasing it, but step into fear every time, basically.
That the comfort zone is definitely a killer of people. People just get too comfortable and think, well, I'm comfortable now, so there's no point me doing anything else. But you as you say, you're not going to grow there. But I think with that way you were saying about just getting out there and doing it, I've literally done things and I've hated them. I've done things and I've loved them, but the difference is if you don't do them, you're not going to find out if you love them or hate them. Like, people are so negative to think, well, say if I do this and I don't like it, well, there's one elimination out the way of things that you could potentially do that you do like. And I always hit them with that question, like, well, what if you love it? What if it's your next big thing that you want to do and you're so passionate about it? You're not going to know unless you take that first step to doing it.
And it comes back to the friend thing as well, as like, if you're feeling super lonely and isolated, like, when you start trying these things, you're going to meet people who you get on with. Like, for example, we wouldn't be having this conversation if I didn't go do the Manchester half marathon. So it sounds kind of silly because running is kind of like an isolated activity, but like if I hadn't put myself in that, I wouldn't have built this connection with a like-minded person to have a good chat and a good combo. And it's the same thing of like bouldering. Like when I started climbing, I knew no one. Like I went with one friend initially, but like I knew no one there, and then he left for Canada. And I was like, I can't go anymore. Like, I don't want to do it by myself. But I made myself go, and I pushed myself into that fear of going climbing by myself. And now I've made like a ton of friends at climbing. So it's like, if you push yourself into the fear of trying new things, you're going to find people as well that light you up and are inspiring.
Definitely. Exactly. I completely agree. But I think we could go on for hours because we both have a similar mindset. But I appreciate you for coming on anyway and giving me your time. So if anyone wants to sort of look at the nutritional side, and obviously I'll link Charlotte's Instagram and stuff below. She's also got her own YouTube channel, haven't you? So you can check that out. But obviously I'll link all that. So yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a good chat.
Cheers. How do we